It's time to hammer.
Now I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down! Somehow it's the best.
The Young Chunks Podcast.
Yum Chunks!
Welcome, everyone, to After the Credits, the Yum Chunks Podcast. I am Sean, your host, and with me is your other hosts. We have Ryan.
Yay.
And we have Chris.
Hi.
Hey, you sound much better, Chris.
I've made it. I made it back from the upside down.
It was pretty rough there going, but we pulled you through. Not Chewie and Vince. They were lost on the other side.
I think they're in like the gooey cocoons, having their life force sucked out of them.
That has nothing to do with the other side. They just prefer to sleep in gooey cocoons. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our gooey cocoon discussions.
They keep asking me to kill them.
Care me.
We're gonna have our special haunted spooky Halloween episode now, talking about all things spooktacular in the middle of November, right when you want it. We're gonna talk about a couple of things. We've all been watching different shows. We all love I don't know. We're going to talk about Castlevania, the new season. Ryan, you said you started watching Sabrina.
Yep.
I watched a kind of spooky movie, and then after all that, we'll start talking about House on Hill, The Haunting of Hill House.
The Hill of Haunting House. The House of Hill Haunting.
That hill in a house. So that's what we
House.
got in store for you tonight.
Yay.
Woo! Boo.
What's the spooky thing you watched, Sean?
It wasn't actually that spooky, but it was billed as kind of spooky. And I know, Chris, you were interested. I don't know if you ever watched it. But The Apostle on Netflix.
I still haven't watched that.
I will say it's better than most of the Netflix film kind of pattern of cool idea and then it completely falls apart.
Right.
And that's being generous even for some of the Netflix films.
Yes.
We're looking at you, Avatar.
What?
Avatar?
Yeah,
Avatar. That doesn't imply.
But
is it better than Ibiza? That's the question.
No, it's not better than Ibiza. That's for sure. It's not quite as like a high concept premise. It's kind of cool. It's more disturbing and kind of gross. It's not scary really, but I like the people in it, and it doesn't quite fall apart at the end. Though I do think it is. The second half is worse. Than the first.
So it falls apart at the end.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
That's all right. It's all right. That's a movie. I haven't seen any actually films in theaters though.
Yeah,
Last couple weeks.
I haven't either. I think that's partially because Movie Pass has kind of been dropping the ball. So
Yeah. I wanted to see Halloween, but it
Me
wasn't
too.
playing in Movie Pass.
Yeah.
Dang it.
The only thing I did see movie-wise was this movie called Enemy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, I've heard it's the isn't that who is the director of that is
Someone.
it's Villeneuve, isn't it?
I think so.
I think it's Villeneuve. The guy who did the new Blade Runner, he's done a lot of other films, but
It is. That's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was worth watching mostly for fans of film, maybe not for general audiences. But Jake Gyllenhaal is really good. He's really good in it, so it's worth checking out. Yeah, it's also it's actually kind of scary in a way.
Well, there you go. Some more Halloween spook. Even though the film's like 3 years old now, right? I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still good. Go watch it. Chris, have you watched any films? Ever in your life?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
What? What?
I don't think it's a loaded question, but sure.
No.
Well, that's good. We've seen lots of things. Oh, actually, okay. I was wrong. I did see a movie in the theater. It was about a couple weeks ago. I went to a screening of Willow in L.A., and Ron Howard was there. So,
Whoa!
Yeah, it was a special screening at some art house theater on the original film, and they did a Q&A with Ron Howard afterwards, and it was awesome. It was super fun, and it was just really cool, like a small little art house theater, and just like all super fans of like Willow, so like everyone's super into it, and I really love that film anyway. And then Ron Howard comes out, and it's cool, just kind of like, he was just talking about the movie, and the screenwriter was there too, and yeah, it was just a great time. Good
That
time.
That sounds awesome, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
What was Ron Howard like?
He was cool. He's kind of what you expect him to be. He was a little bit more rambly than like not necessarily in a bad way, but like you could tell he didn't have a script. I mean, I don't know what that means, but like his answers to people's questions were just like really long-winded, and he would kind of go off on tangents and stuff like that. But it was still very much the Ron Howard. Actually, it was kind of funny. This one guy. So as Ryan and I, as very as people who go to conventions, i.e. Comic-Con, fairly often, and go to panels where people ask questions. There's always a kind of the Comic-Con element of the groan question of like, oh God.
Yeah, but that's where we go.
And you go to like a hipster LA film screening, you expect a higher standard for your Q&A. That you should not expect that. So, I mean, you get some there's a lot of film snobs, people asking questions, but then you have like this one guy who literally is like, "Hi, I have a treatment here for Willow 2. Would you mind reading?" And everyone just like collectively like, "Oh my God." It was so embarrassing. But then like Ron Howard, like he was like, he kind of knew how to, I guess, answer that. And he's like, well, right. I don't know if I can't really take anything because I can't really say anything, but there may be something already in the works for it. Like, so you heard it here first. Willow 2 is confirmed by Ron Howard. It definitely wasn't just trying to placate some random weirdo in an audience.
I feel like Sean's doing a Ron Howard impersonation right now. That was a very long-winded response.
Yeah. Anyways, but that was fun. So I saw that in the theaters. It was good.
That's cool. I do love that movie. Yeah. But can you confirm for me that Val Kilmer was actually in that movie?
I can't.
Dang it.
It was either CG or it was Burgle cut the whole time. Burgle cut. But movie-wise, that's all I got. But I'm doing other things. I've been playing some games. I got Red Dead Redemption 2.
Nice.
Because everyone in the world has to play that game.
Yep.
Everyone.
I refuse.
I'm doing my patriotic duty.
But you didn't vote on Tuesday.
Voting's for suckers. You really love America. You play video games. No, I did vote too. But so that's fun. And I mentioned in the last episode the Obra Dinn, Return of the Obra Dinn. I beat that. Highly recommend it. Ryan, especially, I think you'd really like it.
Cool. Well, I haven't heard the last episode yet, so.
Yeah, well, I recommend that game. Go play it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting all of my stuff out of the way. Then you guys could talk about your stuff. So a friend turned me on to this. I finished listening to all of the radio broadcast, NPR broadcasts of Star Wars, A New Hope. And it was awesome. You guys should all listen to it. They were recorded back in like 1981 for the original New Hope. But it has Mark Hamill and Anthony Daniels doing their voices. All the other characters are, different actors. But it's like a radio play, just like a radio drama, and there's like half-hour episodes, but it's the whole New Hope. But it's really, really, really good. It's surprisingly good. I think, Ryan, you're talking about those. You were telling me about some X-Files episodes you were kind of listening to, which were audio only.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you think about old radio dramas, back in the olden times.
That's what we're comparing them to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I imagine they would be, but they are better quality than I was expecting, just in terms of, well, the writing and the voice acting and stuff, and obviously they have like the score behind it. So you got John Williams, and they do a pretty good job with sound effects. And I think it helps that I'm super familiar with the films, and people are, so you are kind of picturing everything going on. But I don't know, it's really, really good. Some of the line readings, like even from like Mark Hamill and stuff, are like, oh, that was like as good as the film, and they even have a whole bunch of stuff that's not in the film. So there's a whole bunch of like Luke's, what he's up to as a young moisture farmer back in the homestead, and his buddies, hitting womp rats in Beggar's Canyon, and then you find out kind of like the little bit of the lead up to how Leia got the Death Star plans. That was not Rogue One, but so yeah, it's really, really cool.
That sounds cool. That's a good recommendation.
It's perfect for like a commute, like listen to on your ride to work and ride home from work. Highly recommend. You will not be disappointed. Anyways, that's all I got. What else? What other things you got, Chris? You've been playing any more video games? Do you play video games, Chris?
What was the question?
What are you doing, Chris? Are you watching? What movies have you seen?
No movies.
Oh, what about video games?
Actually, I did recently. We like to show movies at work on Thursday nights in our screening room, and I have this so bad it's good Japanese film called Versus. Did I ever show that to you, Ryan?
Yeah, I watched that. You showed that to me. Actually,
is that the baseball one?
No. That's Battlefield Baseball. That one's also pretty funny. This one is like these people all meet up in a forest. Some of them are like escaped convicts, and some of them are gangsters and stuff like that. And they get in the forest, and then the dead come back to life, and it's like silly kung fu action and all this other stuff. And I don't know, it was pretty funny. I watched that again. It was really funny.
That's good. I remember that one, Chris. That was like the first film you ever let me borrow to watch, and I knew watching that film that we would never be friends.
You mean we were perfect for one another?
Yes.
I mean, looking at the films that you recommend to us.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching much. I've been watching a lot of TV shows, though.
I haven't been watching much. I've been watching a lot, though.
Yeah.
Well, what TV shows have you been watching, Chris?
Oh, so glad of you to ask.
Okay.
Obviously, I've watched Castlevania. I've watched Haunting of Hill House. I finished Daredevil season 3 as of last night. I've been watching.
How does Daredevil compare to the other seasons? Because I plan on watching that, but I haven't started yet.
I like it more than the second season.
That's good.
I might like it more than the first season overall. If it wasn't.
Wait, did you like second season more than first?
No.
Oh,
really? I like the second season more.
Yeah,
than the first.
I don't like that the second season was two half seasons, right? Because the story arc kind of just swaps on you halfway through.
I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, because like the first half is all about Punisher, and then the second half it was about Elektra. It was like
that's kind of true.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
All right, well, regardless of that, so I was watching. I kind of already told Sean about this, but the season 3 got me. One night I was like, I was watching an episode towards the end of the season, and I was super excited, and I was like, oh man, that was such a good cliffhanger. I kind of wanted to spend the rest of the night playing video game before I go to bed, but I really no, I'm invested in it. And so I started up the next episode without looking at the title of it or anything, and it turned into just a Karen episode, and I was just like, no. I've made poor life decisions, clearly. No. And then, I don't know how, but they made me hate her character even more. and then afterwards, I saw the title of the episode, and had I looked at the title, I would have realized my mistake. Because
this is called the Karen episode?
It's literally just called Karen.
Oh, God.
It's like, wasted my night with that freaking thing. But
well, thanks for the fair warning.
Yeah, there's a Karen episode. You could just fast forward through the first half of it because I can confirm it has nothing to do with anything. It will only make you hate her more. And just skip to the second half of the episode, which finally moves back to the present because the first half is like Karen's history, and you're just like, you suck.
Yeah,
but Kingpin is really good. He's really good. And actually call him Kingpin in this season, and he deserves his title for his plan because his plan is pretty.
I'm a little skeptical because I didn't really like him that much in the first season, so
he does a lot better. I think he's a lot more cutthroat and conniving in this one. So I think it's pretty good. I don't want to go too far into a review of it, but I'm also watching Good Place season 3.
Nice.
Oh no, Ryan! Have you watched any of that show, Ryan?
Yeah, I've seen the first season.
Okay, so because I did not know you have seen the first season. I guess we shouldn't get super involved because we don't want to talk about spoilers. But I just finished season 1 last night.
Oh.
Spoiler.
And like I said, we don't want to we won't go into specific spoilers. But how did you feel about the finale, Ryan?
It's been a while since I watched it. I don't know how. Why? What do you?
Okay. So I did not really like it. So we won't get into a full review and stuff. But I think part of it is because I knew there was going to be a kind of surprise-ish twist to the end.
Oh.
Just because I didn't know what it was. I just knew that there was going to be one. Just because other people told me one. So maybe because I knew that, maybe my opinion was skewed. But I did not like the actual twist. Like I thought it was. It reminded me of Now You See Me. It was like one of those things.
Oh. Okay.
So, anyways, I was just curious if you obviously don't even remember. I guess you don't have a strong.
Yeah, I'll have to maybe go because I've been meaning, but it's been so long since I watched the first season. I have to do like a recap or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, I enjoy the show. I just
in general, I like the show. I think good.
Just don't like the twist at the end.
Gotcha.
Anyways.
And then the last thing I'm kind of watching is that Titans show. I'm still watching that, which it's kind of hit or miss. Last week's episode was pretty good. Hopefully this week's episode, where they become more of a team, will be pretty good. But I'm invested, so I'll just keep watching.
That's cool. See
what happens. And then besides that, been playing some Dragon Quest XI. Oh, so I just tried a demo. You know the Persona games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you hear like a while ago they released like a rhythm dance game for it?
Yeah.
And they're releasing 2 new ones. One for this time for Persona 3 and one for Persona 5. And I booted up the demo for it, and I was messing around with that, and I went through like the first couple tutorials, just like the basic controls. And I was like, all right, I think I got this, right? And so I do, but I don't finish the tutorials. I just did like the first couple, like very basic control stuff. And I'm like, I think I can figure the rest out from here. And so I was like, all right, I'm out of tutorials, going into the game, start the level, start the song, and my God, I had no flipping clue what I was looking at anymore. It was just, it was a cluster F of colors and everything. I was just like, I can't believe it, but I might have to go through every single freaking tutorial to understand what is going on in this
challenge. Accepted.
Challenge accepted. You're gonna download it and try doing no tutorials.
I challenge you to a duel.
You should do it. Do it.
It's not 2-player.
No.
Challenge
but it is a demo, so you should do it. No, seriously, Ryan, try it. Try downloading the demo, Persona 5 dancing in Starlight or something. And don't
have you ever danced with the devil in the pale starlight?
Yeah, don't do the tutorials and just try going directly into game and watch your brain just melt at like what you're looking at.
Watch it melt. So, don't feel it melt.
It's like an acid trip. But yeah, so I've been doing that too.
Acid. You've been doing acid.
Yeah, a lot of acid. Oh, and last note is Echo Combat comes out on
Hooray!
November 15th, and I'm super excited.
Just
And
in time for my birthday.
yep, and we got lots of.
When are we gonna get that sponsor money from?
Yeah.
Radio
Well, I
Dog?
keep bringing it up, and maybe if I can bring it up enough, I'll eventually get it. What about you, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I already mentioned the movie Enemy.
I meant more. I meant more of how much Echo Combat are you going to play? Not
All
about-
of the Echo Combat. Yeah. Also, Sean, you mentioned I started watching Sabrina, which I indeed have started, and actually, I'm really liking it.
That's next on my list.
Yeah,
Did you hear that they got sued by a satanic cult for
I
like
did hear
$50 million dollars, and I think they lost.
Well, that's probably for the best, but
It's good though.
yeah, actually, I'm surprised how much I'm liking it. In fact, one of the reasons I started watching it, besides the fact that Netflix keeps insisting I do, is that actually two different people in real life have requested that I watch it and do a podcast or after the credits episode on it. So, yeah.
Maybe we'll all have to.
That was actually next on my list to watch. I'm definitely down to watch it. I'm only hesitant because of the main actor.
Yeah.
The main actor from Mad Men. I hated her so much in Mad Men that it's hard for me to separate that from her at this point.
Well, yeah. No, I don't know.
Isn't she a child?
She's a child. I don't know how much you can hate the child, but
oh, I can.
Okay.
We all know.
Well, I do
how
hate
much Chris could hate children.
Yeah, but I do recommend it. I'm only whatever 3 episodes in, but so far I'm liking it.
How long is the season?
I want to say it's kind of short actually, because they're I think hour episodes.
Just like a 10-13 episode season, normal.
I don't
normal
even think it's
season.
that long.
Oh, okay.
8 maybe. Oh, easy. I'm not gonna go into work tomorrow. I'm just gonna watch it.
It's for the best.
You heard it here first, Naughty Dog.
Yeah, it's 10 episodes.
Okay. Normal Netflix season for an hour-long show.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah, I recommend that.
Cool. Anything else?
No, I think we should get into the Hill House haunting.
No, let's talk about Castlevania.
But
I want to talk about Castlevania.
Let's take a vote.
Castlevania.
What do you want to talk about, Matt? Oh, we don't want to talk about that, though.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah. Brian got it.
I don't get it.
I mean, I don't know why you started singing it. I just knew the tune and I sang along.
The final countdown?
Yeah, I was originally going to do the X-Men theme, but then Final Countdown came to the forefront of my mind as soon as I said
Neither apply.
So then how could Ryan have got it if you
I don't
didn't
know.
do what you
That's
said
how in sync Ryan and I are.
Yeah, me and Chris are like
from the very first
there.
do, he anticipated
first do.
my needs, Sean. Something you never do.
You guys are repeating each other's sentences.
We're not finishing each other's sentences. We're just repeating them.
Well, Castlevania. That's a show, and we all watched it.
Sure did.
Yeah. What did you guys? I mean, there was season 2, so season 1's already out. Came out last summer.
But you can view season 1 and 2 as really more of like one season, right? Because it's one arc.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Season
like,
2
1
is the
felt
end.
more like it was like a trial. Like, hey, is this gonna
pilot,
work?
yeah.
You want to watch this? Oh, you do? Okay, here's a whole bunch more.
Yeah. Although I will say the second quote unquote season felt or it didn't feel like a different show, but in terms of like the story that they were going to tell, it surprised me that the story it ended up telling, I think.
It's a little weird because the first season really focused on Trevor, right? Like Trevor's journey.
Yeah.
And he was the forefront of almost every episode. But yeah, then the second season they approached it from like almost anybody but Trevor.
Yeah. Which at first I was like, when are we getting to the heroes? But then I was like, wait a minute, that's not what this story's about. At least not right at this point.
Well, I mean, I think my biggest criticism of it, and I don't know if it's criticism, is that our heroes are pretty inactive for the first half of the season.
Correct.
But luckily, our villains, villains are all really cool and interesting, and I'm fine watching them instead for most of it. So it's fine. Like it's not, the show doesn't suck or the show's not boring because of it. It's just kind of weird that like, oh, our heroes are just kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. I still like them. They're cool. I like Trevor and so fun.
I mean, I think it's important because I mean, did either of you see that interview with the producer on Kotaku that they did yesterday? He talks about that there's actually a lot of setup in season 2 for characters in the world that weren't even shown and stuff like that. So, and I feel the same way about like Hector, right? Like Hector, they may have gone like a slightly different route with him, but Hector is the main character in Curse of Darkness, which is technically the next one chronologically in the Castlevania series. So I imagine Hector will continue to play a somewhat important role in whatever they decide to do next and everything. So, but yeah, that slow build up of every character.
Well, also, I guess it's worth stating that this, for those who don't know, this is an adaptation of a video game. I think that's probably anyone who is interested or who has watched it probably knows that, but maybe not. But and all three of us, at least at some level, are familiar with the video game franchise. Like, I don't know if any of us are super fans or anything, but we are fans. I know Ryan and I are.
Yeah,
Chris,
I'm
how
a
much
big
have you
fan.
played?
Yeah.
Not much at all. I know it's a video
Really?
game because I play video games, but no, I suck at those games. I'm terrible. And I also
Really? You haven't played?
I literally just don't have the patience for games like that.
Like Metroidvania or side scrollers,
like
or
Metroidvania-esque games.
Well, I mean, they're only Metroidvania in the last since Symphony of the Night.
Right.
All the the other ones were maybe you might have been too young for. I don't know. But they were more traditional side scroller, on the NES and Super NES.
Ghosts and Goblins esque.
Okay.
Yeah, I suck at those too.
Okay. I mean, I think I haven't played every Castlevania, but I've played most of them.
I've also played most of them.
And most of them multiple times too.
Yeah.
So I guess I am a bigger fan than I kind of even think about. So my point though being is that our opinions of the show may be partially, biased because we are gamers and we play the game and kind of are familiar with this to a degree. Mm-hmm. But I do think that the show is awesome. Oh, I guess we haven't said, but I like the show. I think it's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, I do.
The show would be awesome. The show would be awesome even if you hadn't had that knowledge.
Yeah,
like if you hadn't played the game at all.
Right. I think it has a good wild appeal, and that it'll appeal to anime lovers in general. I mean, not to necessarily pigeonhole it into that kind of category, because I think it has a pretty wide appeal.
I honestly,
to non-gamers.
I think this is the first anime in a while that I've been like truly excited and invested in. So take that, My Hero fans. That show is overrated. You heard it. It's overrated. No, but like Castlevania, like the animation quality, it's super high. I think I read somewhere that it was the same animation house that did the Vampire Hunter D movies. Did you guys? Or
it actually felt like that. There was
a
couple times watching it that I was like, "Oh, I wonder if this was the same as Vampire Hunter D." I never bothered looking it up, but I kept
at least like
the
main character artist, right? Because the characters seemed very they looked like that Amano art almost, right? Like they're very detailed.
So it's so funny. I thought the exact same thing, that Alucard and Dracula both were spot on dead ringers. I was like, yes, this very much feels like Hunter D.
Yeah.
So yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I really like that. Just very high detail. It was the love of that property. It was very evident watching every episode. So,
yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I like it so much is because it did. I think this is the best example of, for fan service, for kind of lack of a better term, because it's really indulgent in it. But it never detracts or is never, it never takes away from the story or characters. Like all of that works fine. And like I said, you don't have to have known the games or anything to enjoy this. But like, I feel like any moment they can, like Trevor's literally opening a treasure box with a whip inside. If that is not a video game, like, but it's still just like, yeah. I was just like, oh man, this is so cool.
There's so many moments like that I kept, that I kept thinking, like, am I enjoying this because it's from the video game? And I am getting very pumped for it. But I'm like, maybe this isn't fair to like a non-video game player might watch this and be like, what's going on? This is stupid. But I don't know. I was definitely overindulging in those elements. Like when Alucard turns into the wolf, you're like, they never set that up. There's no way a non-game player would like be like, yes, this is fine. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I was fine with it. I thought it was freaking rad, but
well, I mean, that's the whole. I mean, I guess I might as well just get it out there. But that's the 7th episode. That whole freaking episode. But the first part, especially the first 15 minutes, when they're just fighting in the foyer and the entry. And the Castlevania music is playing. I was, I was like, this.
No,
it was like the greatest.
It's so good because you had warned me, or I don't know if "warned's the right word," but you're like, "Oh, if you get to episode 7, you won't regret that." Yeah. And then as soon as I got to episode 7 and that music kicked in, I lost my mind. I was
I don't know. I can't remember the last time like I was so excited watching a TV show. Just like I had to, because when I finished it, I texted Chris like right after. I'm like, oh my god, that was amazing. That is.
I almost texted you right when that was happening, but I was like, well, I'm gonna talk to the whole group in like 5 or 10 minutes from now, so I can restrain myself. But yeah, that was so amazing. They did such a good job with that music kicking in, like at the exact moment, and it's the whole season been building up to this. So, like, yeah, this is what you've been waiting for. All the characters using all their abilities and just busting it all out to the music. It was, and then like Alucard, like I'm just okay. At this point, we're just gonna geek out and just talk about all the freaking things we love. So on top of the music, or the music's actually on top of everything, I guess I should say. But Alucard, he busts out his sword familiar, right? Right? I'm just like, I can't tell you how much I was freaking out. And then he freaking turns into the wolf and starts attacking, guys. I'm just like losing it, and it's like everything they're doing is from the games, and like even the Cypher character, the mage character, brings into like the more recent what is that, Aria of Sorrow or whatever, where you have the couplings, and obviously you have a Belmont just kicking ass with his freaking Morning Star, Like, it was everything any Castlevania fan could possibly hope for.
I also I love how unrelenting it all was too. Like it never held back, and it was just like, I mean, obviously it was choreographed, but it was like more of like a brutal like when he shoves it in like that one guy's mouth, and then just like pushes him back as he explodes on everyone else.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I was a little shocked at how brutal it was, but I mean, it was effective. So,
but I guess that's what I mean, where I'm like, it was so fan servicey and indulgent, but in a way that you wanted to, because I think like other things that are adaptations, especially video games, like there's this hesitancy, like we could only like hint and touch on like the video gamey stuff. We gotta elevate it and turn it like
they fully embraced
this is
it.
What we want to watch this for. Like this is exactly why I want to see a Castlevania show. You nail, like if I were to watch a Prince of Persia movie, I would want to see this, not whatever that movie was. What does that have? You know what I mean? Like
you don't like watching camel races?
What does that have to do with Prince of Persia?
No, it was ostrich race.
Oh yeah,
it was that.
Oh yeah.
It's like this weird. I mean, I haven't seen every video game adaptation, obviously, but they're notoriously awful. And
this one was perfect, right? They sat down and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna start here. We're gonna start with what is one of the earliest ones in the storyline, and it's gonna be we're going to use its story. This is its story, right? Trevor's story is not altered like at all." And they're like,
yeah, exactly. And I like that too.
And from there, they were like, okay, beyond that, I'm sure they sat down. They're like, we want this big action scene. We want this big action scene. We have this in mind. for Castlevania, the Morning Star, all that stuff, and using the games as the background, they clearly were like, okay, we'll do our movie adaptation or our show adaptation around these things rather than how can we just make this a 2-hour movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They pulled from the source material, which nobody ever does.
Yeah, I mean, they actually used it. They stuck to, and I am as someone who I definitely think that adaptations do not need to stick to their, literal source material by any means. You could, some of the best adaptations are the ones who do change a lot. And
yeah.
But I think what I'm getting at too is just that, like, I think this idea that when you adapt a video game, we have to make the story better, or we have to change things, or we have to
right, you have to make it palatable for a wider audience somehow.
Yeah, and it's like, no, not at all. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying that there weren't people involved in other adaptations that weren't passionate about the IP, or I'm sure people on the Tomb Raider movie loved the Tomb Raider game. I don't know, but it was clear that the people who made this were like, I want to see like a freaking Belmont destroy vampires with the Dracula killer whip. Things like this is what you want to see. And the story, and they're familiar enough with the IP and with Castlevania to know what stories are there. The groundwork for it is there, and just to build on it. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They could keep what already exists and just turn it into fleshed out, interesting. I mean, and that's clear in all the villain characters. I mean, I call them villain, but they're only villain because they're against our protagonists. Right. But like Dracula and all of his, like, we touched on it, but they're arguably more interesting than the heroes, at least for the first half of the show.
I mean, I guess like most good villains, right? They're the heroes of their own story.
Yeah. But yeah, like Hector and Isaac and Dracula, they were all, I love those kids. They were awesome characters.
Fantastic. I thought just the depiction of Dracula was probably my favorite part of it. Like, they right, it's this great villain construction, is to make them very human, which I love about it. And there's I don't know, there's some elements where I felt like they made the Dracula character too sympathetic, or too human, or too, I don't want to say the word weak, but I don't know, I still loved it. I thought he was just a fantastic character.
Well, I will say that I do think that, like, you understand his point of view in the context of the show, because in the show there's not really a compelling case that all humans should not die. Like, right. They're all just anytime there's humans, except for our heroes, they're all awful. So it's like, I kind of get where Dracula's coming from. And that makes them more sympathetic for sure. I mean, as well as Hector and Isaac and all the other villains.
Right. Well, I feel like they have their own motivations, which I'm compelled towards, right? Whereas Dracula has his own thing, and the other characters are bound to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that all the other characters, in their own heart, believe all humans must die.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, especially with Hector, for sure. That's why I kind of thought his character was one of the more compelling, is because it's clear that he doesn't think that. But he also, like, recognizes, like, they suck.
Right. He's like, I don't want to kill all humans, but I wish they didn't all exist necessarily.
Yeah, and you can see that from both of their perspectives. From Dracula's perspective, even though he does want to kill all humans, it's coming from a place of, like, weirdly compassion and just, like, So it's just a really interesting and an awesome take on just, like, Dracula's story in general, which transcends the Castlevania IP, but then adding that Castlevania element on it anyway makes that whole part of it
right. Well, it's interesting to say that the Dracula character transcends Castlevania, considering Dracula is But no, I know what you mean, and I kind of I have a lot of thoughts on that, and how I think in the games, I guess the games, but maybe also other extended IP. And to an extent, this series, like, Dracula is he's kind of almost like a force of nature, or almost like the maybe personification of man's sins or something like that, right? Where it's like he is just the evil of man, and he's almost like he is you can almost say not to blame, for his existence.
Yeah, I see.
You know what I mean? Like
he's like the Solo movie.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, Sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off, though, right?
No, that was a good way to end my point.
Sean linked me a video earlier this week about like the chronological storyline of all these games, and in it they point out that I guess the original novel, the Bram Stoker's Dracula, is actually it's part of the canon of Castlevania. It happens like towards the back half of it, and
yeah, because most of the Castlevania games take place like in the early Middle Ages. Or
it's like right after the
stuff.
Belmonts disappear is basically where Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, takes place. I found that very interesting. I was just like, whose insane idea was that?
That is really funny. I think another thing I really, really appreciated is that it stuck to its guns, by which I mean it didn't undermine the solid character arcs that it had with like some edgy like, oh, Trevor's really a jerk and he ends up being a jerk, and or you know, I'm trying to think of like a modern day anti-hero story.
Yeah.
Just like everything has to be edgy now, or ooh, we got to like undermine the solid heartfelt ending with something that, oh, but it's not as nice as you think it is, or guess what? Like they stuck with it. Like it's like, oh, that's so perfect. I'm just so happy. Like it was a good ending. Like everything was so cathartic, and it came to a good head for each one of the characters. I mean, obviously there's going to be another season, so we know there's things going to happen. But I guess for our three heroes, primarily, and Dracula, essentially. But for Alucard, for Trevor, for Sypha, for like all of them, it felt like, yes, this is perfect. I don't need some dumb thing where like, I don't know, this forced drama between Trevor and Alucard, and I'll never, you know, the Belmonts were, if I ever see you again, a Belmont again, I'm going to kill you. You know, like some sort of forced bad blood, this stupid, like, no, it was like, yes, this is exactly how I want everything to end. Perfect. I'm happy with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, because I think you're right. I think there is too many shows where it kind of says like, oh, the hero steps, you know, the reluctant hero through the climax. He saves the day, but then at the end, he's still just a no good crumb bum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, but you just saved the world. I don't know how much I'm willing to believe that. Yeah, so I definitely know what you mean. Although I don't know if I needed an entire episode for an epilogue.
Yeah.
Out of 8, you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
I mean, the episode was the season was well paced, and they gave us just enough. I mean, I could always use more because 8's not really that much, unless you want to consider it was 12, which I guess.
I mean, I think back on that final episode. I think when I first finished it, I was in line with what you just said, Ryan. But as I think back on it more now with some time, I do actually appreciate that it got its own episode, because I think it getting its own episode just for the epilogue really allowed them to pace themselves and make it feel very, you know, like cathartic and like leave you in a really good spot. Because like Sean was just saying, it's really solid. Everybody has essentially their ending, and it feels good, and nothing felt really rushed. And if they didn't have a full episode to do that, I mean, that episode actually does cover quite a lot, right? Like it covers like Hector, it covers Isaac, covers Trevor's Sofa, Alucard, some other,
and Carmilla.
I mean, it covers pretty much all our main characters, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of what I mean. Like, I feel like Carmilla's, Hector's, and Isaac's story would have I don't know, 5 minutes of each screen time that they got at the final episode would have been better served as the first episode of the next season. I mean, maybe not, but it felt odd starting a new arc for those characters that we won't get to see any more of for another year.
The classic cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I'd call that.
I kind of get it both ways. I don't know. I don't know if they were like. They were not like plot cliffhangers. There wasn't like anything where it's like, oh, what's gonna. It was more character cliffhangers. Like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen to Hector. Like, what's happening to his character, or Isaac. Like, how is his character gonna develop? What does that mean for this character? So that it was interesting. I kind of feel the same way where like a whole episode on epilogue is weird. I think almost like if you imagine it as a movie, I would be less like it would be less noteworthy because it would feel more natural, like okay, this is the tail end, like, you know, Return of the King. This is what happens at the end. But when you're breaking it up into episodes like this, that means that naturally one episode is just going to be like, yeah, the story is essentially over. Here's an episode where nothing is like, and I wonder if it's just because we're so used to modern TV shows and storytelling where they feel like, all right, it's over. We got to get out. We're done. We can't linger. We can't have a whole episode. And I don't know how I feel about that because I do think that, you know, there is the possibility for.
Well, I mean, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard because like you're saying, we in modern movies you have the big climax, and then you have a very quick wrap up and end a movie because movies want to the stories they want to leave you, you know, on that note. It's like think about like any of the Marvel movies, right? They always have the big climactic battle and a really quick wrap up, right? It's because that when you leave the theater, they want you thinking about that last battle, right? They really want you just like lingering on it, like, oh man, that was so cool, like the Thanos fight. Oh my god, right?
Yeah, it's like on Splash Mountain. You just can't resist the thrill of that big drop, even though the fox keeps threatening to marry my dad.
Classic clickhole.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that they're both, neither one's wrong. It is like, right, if you're a producer, you're making a film or a movie or a TV or what, or like, yeah, you get out. You want to leave, just get out of the ending, and that's smart, TV making, and that's smart filmmaking. But I think you also miss out on the potential of what we were talking about, of like everything feeling so much more solid and substantial and cathartic of an ending.
Yeah.
That's why, like, everyone who hates the Return of the King's ending, there's 10 endings, like, but I like all those endings. I like to see what happened to all these characters and what happens to everyone. Like, so, I mean, I understand the criticism, but I also like it.
Yeah, and I don't know. We don't need to get into the Lord of the Rings right now, but but it's like you've gone on this epic journey with these characters that you've grown to love, and you feel their struggles. Like, I don't want to just dismiss them in 5 minutes or 5 seconds. I want to say goodbye to them.
Exactly.
And saying a proper goodbye takes a while, you know.
But also it's just really hard because episode 7 was just so freaking amazing, and you're just like, you're just like on such an incredible high after that. You're like, give me something. Episode 8.
I haven't watched it since I watched it the first time, and I know it won't be the same, but it's one of those things I want to experience that for the first time again. Oh, it was so good. It's so good. And then, like, when they're fighting Dracula and he uses his big ball, and it's again from the game, he's using his Dracula move.
Because I was thinking that too. I was like freaking out because I was like, that's like Hellfire, right? That's, I think, right?
Exactly.
Like, I was thinking that too. I'm like, oh my god, this is. It's like, yes, it's so cathartic. It's like everything you want from like a nerd. It's so good. Yeah, just like every move, just like. When he would when freaking Trevor would throw the little daggers, everyone knows the satisfaction of pushing up B or whatever to throw your little dagger, because it's the weakest alternate weapon you can have, but it's everyone's favorite because you can shoot him so fast and it's so satisfying. Yeah,
it's so simple and easy.
So simple.
And then even small things too, like it's the other vampires. There's a couple shots of, but in the final fight, Alucard's doing it again. But when he's dashing backwards, like to avoid and dodge, like, oh my god, that is totally.
I also noticed that, and I was just like,
or like,
yeah,
or the little hit, like Dracula's little magic cube thing. That is the exact replica of a save station from. Like all of these things. Like, I don't know how you're aware of these things, Chris, as someone who is not quite as familiar with these games, but like again, it didn't detract from you, right? Right? But like, as someone who knows all these things, it's just like, oh my god, this is amazingly awesome.
Sean, it's so funny. Like, all the little notes that I wrote down, I wrote like the backdashes, I wrote the little daggers, all these little things.
they're in the ruined chemist or alchemy lab. Like, did you notice that too? Like, it looked almost exactly from.
And then all like the clockwork areas, right? They somehow found a way to weave in these areas from the game, the clockwork, whatever they were called, and this is the castle's engine. This is how it moves and does this. Whatever. Yeah. Like, that was so brilliant, and it just tied it all in so perfectly. Even the enemies, right? The enemy design, like the gargoyles and stuff. Like, I remember fighting these enemies and. Or whatever, and it was just also the costuming. I don't know how much you guys appreciated that, but I thought all the costuming and character. Well, I guess that ties into character design, but
I like the color palette stood out specifically to me. Again, harkening back to games, because that was what was recognizable. I think, obviously in 8-bit graphics, you're very diminished in what you could work with, but it was those color palettes. And Trevor, they nailed the color palette for Trevor and Silpha and Alucard.
Alucard was his character design was so perfect. Yeah.
So last note. Did so the guy that's kind of behind this, the main force, the producer, Adi Shankar.
Yeah.
Do you know the other things that he's done? Like, he has this series that he's done on YouTube that's called like the Bootleg Universe, where he kind of does like his versions of things. And did you ever watch the Punisher Dirty Laundry?
Mm-mm. I've heard it sounds familiar.
I think I did watch that actually. Yeah. Was that him?
Yeah. Also, did either of you watch Venom: Truth in Journalism, which was like a little short with Venom that you can't watch anymore because Sony really slammed him hard about that one?
No. I haven't seen it.
Did you ever see that really hardcore Power Rangers YouTube video?
Oh, before the movie. It was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was part of his bootleg series. Like, he's done all that stuff. He was also he worked on Dread.
Oh,
that was
cool.
like, yeah. So I mean, he's got a pretty good list.
Ryan and I saw him at Comic-Con last year. I think we after last summer when we were talking to you about it, Chris. But they had a panel for the Castlevania show because at that time season 1 had just aired, and so we went to that panel, and he seems super cool, just like a normal super cool, but you could see how much like he is passionate about what he likes and whether that be games or whatever things it is, and he seemed cool. The panel was fun. It was kind of cool to get an insight a little like right after it was aired, and it was still pretty popular. Well, it's still popular, but the kind of hype was on and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was really good. I really like that show. Can't wait for season 3.
Go watch Castlevania if you're a fan of just fun action or anime or the games, obviously. But even if you're not a fan of the games, you will enjoy this very much. And it's only 12 episodes, 25-30 minutes each. They're super fast. You'll be able to finish. You know what?
I think Paul, I know you're gonna listen to this. I think you'll enjoy this for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, if he's played any of the Castlevanias, even like I say, even if he hasn't, but especially if you have, I think he'd love it.
Oh, yeah, I think he's going to enjoy it.
Anyways, cool. Well, there's Castlevania, and we have a whole other thing we should talk about, or we're going to. I don't know if we should. We maybe shouldn't, but we're going to.
Yep.
You can't stop us now.
It's
too late.